How many times have you opened a hive in early spring, looked at the frames, and thought, everything looks good? But what if it isn't? What if what you're seeing isn't the real condition of the colony, but just a snapshot that doesn't reveal its true potential? Are you aware that every minute a hive stays open in March can mean a loss of brood stability? What if one detailed inspection results in up to 24 hours of slowed colony development? Picture this. It's March. Temperatures go above 15 degrees Celsius, the first warm day. You open the hive with the best intention, to check the condition. But without a clear protocol, that action disrupts a system the bees have been maintaining for weeks. This is not dramatization. This is the result of energy loss and instability at a critical stage of development. Welcome to a new episode. Today we're not talking about how to do an inspection. Today we're talking about how not to compromise colony development while assessing it, how to see enough while intervening as little as possible. Let's begin. The first warm days of spring activate both the bees and the beekeeper. The temperature rises above 12 to 15 degrees Celsius, the wind calms down, and bees begin cleansing flights. The intuitive reaction is, it's time for an inspection. However, at that stage, the hive is not a stable summer system. It functions as a highly sensitive biological incubator. At the center of the nest, bees maintain brood temperature in the range of approximately 34 to 35 degrees Celsius. That stability is not accidental. It is a requirement for proper larval development. An outside temperature of 15 degrees Celsius feels comfortable to a human. For a system that must maintain 35 degrees Celsius, it is still a significant thermal gap. That's why bees form a compact thermoregulatory zone, a dense arrangement of bodies that functions as insulation and a heat source. The question is, what happens when we suddenly open that system? Opening the hive does not cause slight cooling. It causes a disruption of thermal continuity. When a frame is removed from the brood area, the thermal envelope is broken, cold air enters, a localized temperature drop occurs. Research shows that brood development is sensitive to deviations from optimal temperature. A drop below the optimal range, even by a few degrees, can slow development. Prolonged exposure to lower temperatures can lead to partial brood loss. The consequence is not only direct. Bees must increase honey consumption, activate additional workers for heating, reduce activities outside the hive. This means energy is redirected from development to stabilization. And this is the key point. An inspection is not a neutral process. It has an energy cost. One of the most common practices is actively searching for the queen. The beekeeper pulls out frames, turns them, and extends the time the hive is open. The problem is not the intention, but the consequence. Prolonged brood cooling, increased stress in the colony, risk of mechanical damage to the queen. A modern approach relies on indirect indicators. If, in the central part of the nest, there are freshly laid eggs, young brood in different stages, that is sufficient evidence of a functional queen. There is no need to physically find her to make the correct decision. The key shift is not in technique, but in approach. You are not doing an inspection. You are doing an assessment. The goal is not to see everything. The goal is to obtain enough information for a decision with minimal intervention. Optimal conditions. Stable temperature above around 15 degrees Celsius, little or no wind, short intervention time, 3 to 5 minutes per hive, observation without opening. Look at the entrance, bee activity, pollen intake. Continuous pollen intake indicates the presence of brood. This is one of the most reliable indirect signals. Food assessment. Before opening, estimate the weight of the hive. In early spring, the colony must have sufficient honey reserves accessible to the cluster. The key is not only quantity, but position. Food that is not accessible to bees during cold conditions effectively does not exist from a survival standpoint. If reserves are limited, timely intervention is required. Minimal intervention. Opening must be short and controlled. Instead of fully removing frames, create a small gap. Assess bee density visually. Check for brood presence. If you get the key information, the inspection is complete. If confirmation is necessary, remove one central frame, inspect it above the hive, return it without delay. That single frame provides insight into brood quality, continuity, development, potential. More than that is not necessary at this stage. Weak colonies in large spaces lose heat. Reducing volume improves thermal stability, reduces energy consumption, accelerates development. This is a direct technical intervention with a high effect. Bottom boards, moisture, and debris affect conditions inside the hive. If bees spend energy on cleaning, that energy is not used for development. A clean bottom board and a dry interior. Reduce stress, improve microclimate. Water is also a key factor. Without sufficient water, brood feeding slows down. Royal jelly production is impaired. If the hive has enough natural food, additional feeding is not necessary. Natural honey and pollen have higher biological value than substitutes. However, if there is a shortage, feeding becomes a necessary measure. The decision must be based on assessment, not habit. A long and uncontrolled inspection can lead to slowed development, increased resource consumption, weakened colony. These consequences are not immediately visible, but they become evident during the main flow. The difference between controlled and uncontrolled intervention is measured in colony strength development, timing, final yield. The first spring inspection is not a routine task. It is an intervention in a sensitive system. It is not about seeing as much as possible. It is about disturbing as little as possible. When you understand energy, temperature, colony organization, inspection becomes a controlled process. Otherwise, it becomes a risk factor. Have you recognized any of these situations in your own work? Write in the comments how you approached the first spring inspection and what you have changed over time. If you want to understand beekeeping through systems, biology, and measurable results, follow the upcoming episodes. In the next video, we dive into one of the most controversial topics, spring feeding, when it helps and when it disrupts development. See you in the next episode, Honey Flow.